Before that, let me give a brief introduction about me. My name is Yogesh Murumkar, and talking about the experience, I have total 11 plus years of experience in teaching as well as training as well as industrial experience, including industrial experience. So I started my career as a software developer in Capgemini. I worked there for about 5 years. After that, I went for my post graduation. I completed it from Pune University. And then I have been in teaching and training. And since the last 2 years, I started my own startup named as Bharat Soft Solutions. So we work in uh, development as well as we work in trainings. Okay. So the domains in which generally work are like machine learning, data science, deep learning, computer vision, natural language processing, right? And so we use different technologies like Python, Java, or R, Tableau, Power BI, Informatica. So, yeah, this is in a brief about me. Anyway, as and when we progress, a lot of things are going to be clear. Okay. Talking about this particular subject, I have been approached by madam, HOD madam, regarding this because I'm always involved in this kind of activities. Okay, so last time for final year students, I taught social web mobile analytics, and this time I'm teaching this particular compiler design. Right. Okay. So task to start with this, I told you yesterday also. Okay, see, I will try to just start with the theory itself. Then maybe we will move to the practicals or the assignments. So I will told that this first unit is completed as we have discussed yesterday, and in the second unit these points are covered. Okay, but just to get all the things in sync, I will just try to start with the basics. Let us discuss some of the things first of all, and then I will go and I will try to start from the point where madam has left. Okay. And in between, yeah, sure. If you have any doubt in between, please let me ask. Please, you can ask anytime. You can stop me anytime, no problem. Or you can. I have enabled chat option for everyone. You can just send the chat, send your questions in the chat box. Whatever the questions or the queries you have. I am not giving, I'm not allowing anyone to unmute because that will unnecessarily cause chaos. But still, if someone wants that I should unmute him or her, just let me know in the chat box. I will do that. Okay, so this is what we are going to follow. Just try to understand. This is how we are going to continue. Okay. Now to start with this, you can see that I hope everyone has got familiar with all these things very well, and I hope so that you are very much clear about all these terms. So the first unit itself it is nothing but introduction to compilers, different phases of compiler, right? Cross compiler. This is one of the types of the compilers. Bootstrapping and lexical analyzer. I hope you know that because I came to know that you have done some assignments on Lex. I hope you understand what is the meaning of lexical analyzer, how it actually works, and what are the what type of work actually it does. Okay, I hope everyone is clear about that. Yeah, I think you might have gone through the syllabus itself. So what I will do is I will try to go and try to discuss about the first unit itself today, as it's your first class at first session itself. That's why. So what I'll be doing is let me come up with some of the questions first and let me know what is your understanding about that, and then according to that I will go and I will try to start from the topics whatever it is needed. If it is needed that I should start from the first topic itself, I will try to start with it. No problem at all. Even though I know that Madam has told me she has already completed first unit. Right. So let me just clear some space here. I will be so see, suppose now you know there are different phases of compiler. And what each phase of the compiler, what it does actually, I hope you people are very much aware about it. Even if I ask you something like, if I give some example, right? Let's suppose there is a question, there is a statement like this. Let's suppose there is a statement like this. Print. I hope everyone is able to see this, right? So there is a printf statement. Let's suppose, and in that printf statement, this is the printf statement. Double quotes, single quote, double quote, and then percentage sign, right? Percentage D I can say. Then I am writing down something like hi, yes, okay. And then here I am trying to complete the double quotes here. Then comma here. So try to understand. I am just writing it down. one by one, and then ampersand X. Something like this I have written. Complete it and the following. Now my simple question to you people is, how many tokens are present in this particular line? Simple question is, how many tokens? What do you think? How many tokens are present in this particular line? Whatever the line you are able to see. So what I have written is printf, then opening parenthesis, and then in double quotes I have written percentage %d and high, right? And all these things. So my simple question is, how many tokens are present? What do you think? I hope you people understand the meaning of the word tokens. So how many tokens are there? Can anyone answer this? Because see, again, it is based on, maybe you might have studied the subjects like TOC also, I think, theory of computation. So you are aware about context-free grammar, you are aware about lexemes, tokens. So can anyone answer this? How many tokens are there? Okay. First of all, let me know. Are you able to hear me? Just let me know in the chat box. I enable the chat box for everyone. Then just you can just say yes if you are able to hear me. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Vishnu. So yeah, at least I got one response. So that means yeah, people are able to hear me. So this is my simple question. If this statement is given to you, the question is how. See, I don't know. It might be a very easy question for you, but I just want to check where you people are. Accordingly, I will try to start. That's why I'm asking you a question. It is not like that I'm testing someone or something like that. No, I'm just trying to ask a simple question, just to make a clarification. That's it, nothing else. So can you people tell me how many? Or otherwise, let me ask you. Have you understood the question, everyone? Just let me know. Yes or no. Okay. Yes. Yes. I hope people are saying yes. Thank you, Akash. Thank you, yeah. Yeah. So I think everyone understood the question. And see, again, this is not a new thing. I know that this might not be a new thing for you people because, yeah, first you need to get it covered, then that means you are aware about the points. So the simple question is, because see, this is what is going to happen in real time or in lab also, in practice, right? Whether you go with legs or yak, whatever you can make use of. Simple question. 8 tokens. Shreyas is saying 8 tokens. Any other answer other than 8? Yes, guys. Anyone? Any other answer other than 8? Just let me know. Okay. Okay, I'm getting some answers. Okay, Vaishnavi is also saying 8 tokens. So yes, that means you correctly find out how many tokens are there, right? Generally, I just wanted to check whether you are going to, how are you going to process it? See, maybe those two people have answered it. The answer is correct. Yes, it is 8 tokens only. So many people might have thought that it is going to be 11 or maybe something different, 12, 13, whatever it is. But see, what those people have done is try to understand. This is going to be the first. This is for those people who might not be able to answer it. This is second. Okay. Now what happens is you need to take this one as the third one. That was the only part for which I asked this particular question to you. This is the third one. Now then this one is the fourth token. Right. And then this ampersand is the fifth. And then this is the sixth. And then this is the seventh. And then this one is the eighth. This is how 8 tokens are there. Right? Because what is the reason? The reason is that this particular entire string, this is nothing but a string only, right? The entire string will be taken as, or entire string is nothing but what? This is a literal. We can call it as a literal. I hope you remember, you understand literal. It is considered as one token only. This entire string or literal we can call it as, it is considered as one token only. And that's why there are 8 tokens. Right? Now this is something definitely which can be done with the help of lexical analyzer, right? It is going to help you to do this. lexical analysis is going to help to find out lexemes or the names, or we can call it as tokens. Right. So this is one of the phases of compiler analysis. But so I know that you people are very much aware about phases of compiler. This one you are very much aware of. Now, before this, before talking about before even talking about the phases of compiler, right? Under introduction of compilers only, you might have studied something like what we can say total purpose of making use of a compiler, or from where it actually starts, from what point all these things are actually going to start. For example, let's suppose uh, maybe if I am writing down, let's suppose I am writing down a simple statement hash include in the C language. Okay, so what do you mean by this? What do you understand by this? If I write down, so but that means what machine understands actually. So remove hash include by including the file. That means see there is something called as file inclusion which exists in the picture. So this is nothing but a file inclusion. Okay. I hope you people are aware about this. There are some directives. These are called as directives. I'm just trying to talk about very basic things you might have come across earlier, which you might have come across earlier. Okay. Now, generally what happens is your system is going to get an input, or your system is going to get the input in high level language. High level language. Now, right, high level language is obviously C or C, C++. These are nothing but the high level languages, right? So, as we are talking about the subject here, we are talking about compiler. So, the main aim of compiler is to convert high level language into low level language. The main aim of the compiler is to convert high level language into low level language. That is the main purpose, I can say, right? But here the question is, why don't we write a program in low level language itself? What is the reason? See, the purpose of compiler is to convert high level language into low level language. This is what compiler does. So, if we ourselves write down the code in low level language itself, there is no need of compiler. As simple as that, very simple thing. So, this is the question. Why don't we write down a program in low level language? I hope you people are very much aware about. Simple reason is that we are not comfortable in writing down the programs in terms of low level language. I mean to say in terms of zeros and ones. As a humans, we are not at all comfortable in writing down the code in terms of zeros and ones. That's a very basic reason. Or I can say we are not comfortable in writing down the code in terms of binary language. I don't know whether you people are aware about or not. When there were start of the computer era, right? So there were very big computers which were available. So you might have heard that how people were trying to pass the instructions. People were able to pass the instructions only in terms of zero and ones. Suppose I want to pass hello as a input, so I will have to write out this hello in terms of 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, and so on. So there are only two buttons we can say on the keyboard. One is 0 and another is 1. That's it. But you just can imagine if you want to write on a big program, so it will be really very tedious job, right? So simple reason is we do not write down low level language directly because as humans we are not comfortable in writing down the code in binary language or in zero level. So we as a human are comfortable in some languages like for example English or maybe for some other similar language. For humans, we are comfortable with that. So what you can say, and then the compiler is a software which converts high level language into low level language. So along with the compiler, we have many other software modules we can say, which help us for achieving this particular goal. Now, which are those modules which help us to do that? So let me show you. High level language is going to be passed as an input to something called as preprocessor. See, I am not started the discussion with the compiler yet. Okay. I know you are very much aware about the phases of compiler, but I'm just trying to talk about the previous part of that. So high level language is going to be passed as input to preprocessor. Right. Now, what this preprocessor is going to do? So, see, I told you, if there is something like hash define. So what is this? This is a preprocessor directive. So if I am writing down something like this, right? So it is actually a macro expansion, I can say. Many banking examples, if you are knowing about many banking applications, they make use of this hash defined macro expansion, right? So and earlier also, so hash I am using. I am trying to make use of hash here before include. What do you mean by this? That means remove the hash include by including the file. That is, uh, it is called as file inclusion. File inclusion. Okay. So what happens is this high level language will be given as an input to preprocessor. Now what preprocessor does? So see, let's suppose there is a C program, okay, or a high level language program. So what this preprocessor is going to do is it is going to convert that particular high level language program, language into pure high level language. I can say it is simply going to convert high level language into pure high level language. Now what do you mean by this? Let's suppose there is a C program. Now, if I'm going to write down this particular C program, let's suppose I'm writing down some statements. Hash include here. Okay. Let's suppose I'm writing down hash define here. And now, what are these things? What are these things? These are actually nothing but the preprocessor, what you can say, directives. So, it is going to remove this preprocessor is going to remove these lines, this one and this one, right? And what preprocessor does is it simply does something called as file inclusion and macro expansion. Okay, this is one thing. Now, once this high level language is converted into pure high level language, it is going to be passed to a compiler, and that is what our topic of interest as per this particular subject. It is going to be passed to a compiler. Now, what compiler is going to do? So, input to a compiler is a pure high level language, I can say. Okay. Now, what do you mean by this? Which means program will not contain any hash lines. Program will not contain any lines which are going to start with high level language. What do you mean by which are going to contain this hash? Okay. So I said that input to a compiler is going to be pure high level language. It means that program will not contain any lines like this. Lines which are starting with hash. Hash lines, or I can say hash tags. Program is not going to contain anything which is starting with hash. Hashtags are also called as preprocessor directives. See, hashtags are also called as preprocessor directives. That is, they direct the process about what to do. They actually show the way what to do next. Right. So whatever the input which is going to be passed to the compiler, that is going to be a pure high level language. That means it is not going to contain any hash lines or hashtags. I can say. And compiler, what it is going to give as output, compiler is going to give assembly language as output. It is going to give output in terms of assembly language. Right. Now, what is that? That we will see. So, assembly language again, I hope you people are already aware about that. Right. So, once that is passed to assembly, once assembly language, we got the output in terms of assembly language here, then it is going to be passed as an input to the assembler. There is one more module which is called as assembler. And assembler is going to give you what? Assembler is going to give you a machine code. Machine language code, I can say. And once you get the machine language code, what's going to happen after this? It is going to be passed as an input to loader, or I can say to the linker. Right? Again, there's a model called as loader and linker. And once that is done, finally what are we going to get is executable code. This is what we are going to get. Okay. So before going with the compiler, I just wanted to make sure that everyone should be aware about this. Right? So high level language, maybe C, Java kind of a language, it is going to be passed as an input to preprocessor. Preprocessor is going to be pure high level language that is without hashtags, hash lines, which will be passed as an input to the compiler. And compiler is going to convert into assembly language that will be converted into assembly, that will be passed into the assembler. Assembler is going to give the output in terms of motion code, and that will be passed as input to the loader or the linker, and finally it is going to be executable code. Right? These are the simple steps which are going to happen. Or this is what actually the bigger picture I can say. Now, as our topic is discuss about this particular thing as per this particular subject, what I will do is first of all I will try to show you what it does, right? First, so let me do, for example, maybe let me just clear this particular thing. Now, see, we have a high level language. Let's try to go one step further now. Okay. See, I know if someone is aware about this, just wait for some time. We will be starting with our topics in the second minute also. Right. But let me just clear some of the points. Now, see, what I have is high level language. Now, this high level language is going to be passed as input to the compiler. So, yeah, obviously not directly, but yeah. So, there is something called as lexical analysis. When we will talk about the phases of the compiler, I will show you. These are nothing but the phases of the compiler only. Okay, but I will be showing a simple example, the execution. So, high level language, whatever you got, or pure high level language, I can say, whatever you got, that will be passed as the input to the lexical analysis. Now, you people are very much aware about all these phases of the compiler. So, after lexical analysis, what is there? Let's suppose syntax analysis. Lexical analyzer, syntax analysis. Then after that, what do you have is semantic analysis, right? Because everything is going to be based on this one itself. That's why I'm just trying to make sure, or you can say I'm just trying to repeat. So after syntax analyzer, we have something called as semantic analysis or semantic analyzer. And once that is done, what is the next thing? Let's say intermediate code generation. Okay. Once that is done, then there is something called as code optimizer. Okay. And finally, the code generation. So these are the phases actually, right? And finally, yeah, obviously after the code generation, next step is going to be the assembly code, because this is what compiler does. Initially we have seen, right, in previous time. So what are you going to get as output finally? Assembly code. Now you are very much aware that this particular part till intermediate code generation, and even I think we have assignment also based on this. All right, let me just go with something different. This particular part, right? This is nothing but what your front end, I guess. Because I think it is one first or second assignment which is in your lab. They have asked something about front end. So this is nothing but the front end, and this particular part, whatever you are able to see here, this is nothing but the back end. Okay, I hope everyone is clear till this point. So front end and back end, this is how it is defined. Now, whenever I say high level language is going to be passed into the lexical analysis, what is going to happen? What is going to happen here is it is going to take the program and convert it into. So this program is going to be taken as input, and lexical analysis is going to convert it into the output of this one is going to be stream of tokens, right? In the previous example we have seen stream of tokens, what is going to be as output. Once the stream of tokens, once it is passed, then it is going to be passed the input to this syntax analyzer. Syntax analyzer, what is another name for syntax analyzer? It's also called as parser. Okay, what is the output of parser? Parser is going to give you a parse tree. I hope everyone understands what we mean by parse tree, right? I hope everyone knows that. Let's suppose there is a simple code. Let's suppose there is a HTML code, something like this. I have HTML, then body of the HTML, and then there are some divisions. So let's suppose division. Here I am writing down something like test1 and closing that particular tag. This is a simple HTML code I am trying to write up here. Another division I have. Here I am writing down some test2, and again this is closed. Now I am going to close the body part, and now after that I am going to close this HTML tag. Right. So very simple HTML code. Now if I go and if I try to apply syntax analyzer or parser on this. What I am going to get is, if I apply a parser, I am going to get a tree structure. Right. So how that tree structure is going to look like? So that tree structure, let me suppose right here. See, that tree structure is going to look like something like this. Body is there. Now this particular body is divided into two parts. Now this is the division one, let's say, and this is another division. Let's say division two. Now in division one, you have something like test one. In division two, we have something like test two. And in this, the actual text or whatever it is, actual text, actual data is going to be there. So this is what parser does. It is going to give you a parse tree. So this is some simple example of a parse tree. And in terms of coding, where we generally make use of indexes, how this is going to happen is, actually, this is going to be the body of the code, right? After this, there are divisions, right? So there will be a first part at index 0, there will be a second part at index 1, and in the first part, in test 1, you will get the actual text or the text, txt text, data, I am saying. Here in test 2, you will get the actual text. So it is nothing but what? This kind of a structure is actually easy to crawl. Or if you want to find out something from this one, it's always easy, right? So that's what this parser does. Parser is actually going to give you a parser. Okay, I hope everyone actually understands that whatever I am trying to talk about. After that, so once you have a parse tree ready here, right? Now that is going to be passed as the input to the next phase of the compiler. Let's say we got a parse tree. Now that is going to be passed as the input to the semantic analysis. Now what semantic analysis is going to give you? Semantic analysis is going to give you a parse tree itself, but that parse tree is going to be semantically verified, I can say. Now what do you mean by this? Parse tree is going to be semantically verified. Now what is the meaning of this? Semantically verified parse tree. That means it should follow all the rules, whatever we are given. For this, we'll be talking about a simple example when I will show you what you can say walkthrough of all these stages in detail with a simple expression. So that is also going to give you a parse tree itself, but the difference is that it will be semantically verified parse tree. I hope you people are aware about it. What is semantically verified parse tree? If not, maybe I will be showing the example. After that is going to be passed as the input to something called as intermediate code generation. So what it is going to give you? So this is going to give you output, or it is going to give you your code in terms of three address code. Three address code. Right. So it is going to make use of some expressions and it is going to convert your code in this particular form, three address code. And that three address code is going to be passed as an input to code optimizer. The name itself suggests actually what is this code optimizer. It is going to optimize your code. Okay, maybe in terms of variables, maybe in terms of number of lines and so on. And finally, what are we going to get is code generation is there, or target code generation, I can say. Target code generation, whatever the target we have set that particular thing, target code it is going to generate. And finally, I am going to get assembly code. That is, this is also our target, assembly code. But while doing all these things, compiler is going to take the help of some other things also. For example, this particular thing, I hope people are aware about. There is something called as, let me just write it down here. There is something called as error handler. This is what compiler is going to make it of. Obviously, each one of them they are going to make it of. So maybe lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis, intermediate code generation, code optimization, and target code generation. All of them they are going to make use of error handler, which is going. So again, what is this error handler? This is nothing but one of the modules only, which is going to be used by all these stages. And along with this, there is one more module which will be used, and I hope people are very much aware about that because we have some assignments based on that. and that is nothing but symbol table. Okay, symbol table manager I can say. So again, symbol table manager is going to be referred by all of the phases here. So see, this is a simple diagram. It is actually helping you to understand the flow of the phases of the compiler. So compiler will take the pure high level language and it will convert it into assembly language. And for every platform, see, whenever I say platform, I say for every platform, I mean that the hardware that you are using. For example, if you are using Intel AMD, right, or maybe Motorola, or any hardware, Intel AMD or Motorola, anything, and on top of that particular hardware, operating system you are using, right? It is like this. There is a hardware like Intel or Motorola or anything, and then there is a software, there is operating system, maybe like Linux or Windows 64-bit, 32-bit, whatever. So depending on your hardware and the operating system, which is also called as a platform, combination of both is actually called as a platform. So we are going to have some assemblers, right? So assembler for one platform will not work for other platform. I hope you are very much clear about this, right? It's like, for example, you think of assembler as a manual, right? It's like a manual only, using which you can operate only one instrument and you cannot operate other instrument. Exactly similar to that assembler is going to work. So therefore, the main purpose of compiler is to generate assembly level language, and assembly level language will not be entirely in zeros and ones, and not entirely a high level language. So assembly level language is somewhat intermediate, I can say. So previously people used to write down programs in assembly language too, and later they actually come to the high level language because they found out that it's somewhat easy as compared to writing down the code in assembly language, right? So I hope everyone is very much aware about all these things already. As there is no question from your side, so I hope that you people are very much aware about all of this. Okay. Next thing is what? Now, we know that machine code, whenever we talk about machine code, and machine code simply means what? Zeros and ones, as simple as. But machine code is actually again can be divided into two types. Let's suppose this is called as one type is called as relocatable code. Okay, and one more is called as absolute machine code. Relocatable code or absolute machine code. So what do I mean this? What do I mean by this one? Relocatable code. Relocatable machine code. Relocatable machine code means it means that you can actually load that machine code at any point in the computer and you can run it. That kind of code is called as relocatable code. For example, if you have something like this, right? Now uh, this will be one location, this will be another location, and so on. There will be memory location and so on, right? Something like this. So what did I tell you? I told you that relocatable machine code means you can load that machine code at any point in the computer and you can run it. For example, in random access memory, in RAM, compiler assumes that you can start from either any point. So for example, you can start from this particular point. So compiler assumes that you can start from either this particular point or any other point for that matter. That means you can start from any point. That's what compiler assumes. Okay. Therefore, all the addresses within the program will be in such a way that they will cooperate for program movement. That means the addresses which will be there, they will be in such a way that program movement is going to be very much easier. So if you talk about any compiler, for example, if you talk about GCC compiler, or maybe if you talk about Turbo, right? Turbo C compiler, I can say. GCC compiler, Turbo C compiler, all these pages are included, whatever we have seen previously. All these steps are included here. But then actually the compiler means only the part which converts pure high level language into assembly language. So to be more precise, if you really want to understand what compiler does, so actually compiler converts pure high level language into assembly language. But if you look at GCC, this particular compiler, you need not do pre-processing separately. I have already shown you what happens in case of pre-processing. So assembly, so in case of GCC, you don't have to do pre-processing separately or maybe assembly separately or loading and linking separately. Everything will be kept in one tool. So we are not interested in looking all the tools together. We are only going to look at what a compiler is going to do, as this is what our subject is. Okay, and that's why what we will do is we will go and we'll try to discuss the phases of the compilers in detail. Let's suppose now let me give a simple example, simple expression. I will write it down here. Let's suppose if you want to understand or just to revise how the all the phases of the compiler work. So if I have x is equal to, or even you can answer me this, x is equal to a plus b into c, a simple expression I have. Right. Now, so what are all these called as? Can anyone tell me what are all these? What is this? What is this x? What is this a? What is this plus sign? What is this equal to sign? What we call them as? What is the name for this? Anyone can you just let me know in the chat box? What are you going to call them? I know it might be very easy for you, but just answer it. We will be going slowly, slowly. Initially, I will be taking baby steps, and then we will go and we will try to do everything. Don't worry about that. Even if it's easy for you, please answer. Even if it's hard, just let me know that you are not aware about or confused. Or but yeah, try to answer. What is this? Can anyone tell me what are this called as? And yeah, you if you think that you are very much good at all these things, just let me know. I will just try to skip this particular part and directly move to the numericals or maybe next concepts. Yes, can you people tell me what are all these things X, A, B, C? Operators. No, Manav, not operators. They are not operators. Yes, anyone else? Those who already know, but still, please answer it. X equal to A plus B star C. What are these called as? Okay, these are called as lexemes. Okay, all these are called as lexemes. So let us say this is the source program given to us. X is equal to A plus B star C. This is the source program given to us. Okay. Now we are going to pass it as an input to lexical analyzer. Now what is going to be the output of the lexical analyzer here? The output is, see, it's a lexical analyzer. Now what it is going to do is it is going to convert this particular input. Lexical analyzer is going to convert this particular input into stream of tokens, and it is going to remove white spaces and comments. This lexical analyzer is going to remove white spaces and comments, and it's going to convert this particular expression into stream of tokens. That means I may write it down something like this: ID is equal to identifier, you can say unique identifier. So ID is equal to ID plus ID into ID. Now, and obviously for white spaces and it is going to remove white spaces and it is going to convert into stream of tokens. After this, there comes syntax analyzer. Now, what this syntax analyzer going to do here? I told you, syntax analyzer is going to give you a parse tree, right? Let's suppose we have now again. I will assume that you people are aware about something called as CFG, context free grammar. Let's suppose I have something like this. S gives ID equal to E. Very common example is E gives E plus T or T. Okay, this is plus sign. After that, this T gives T star F or F, something like this. Let's suppose it is given to S and F is ID. Now what it is going to do is syntax analyzer with the help of this particular thing, it is going to create a tree. So what do I have is on that, let me just write down the tree format. S, this S is giving what? It is giving you ID, identifier, equal to this E, right? Now you have definition of E as what? So you have E is equal to E plus, let's suppose E plus E. Now this T is actually giving you what? T is giving you T star F, something like this. T star F from this one. Okay. And this F is giving you what? This F is giving you ID. Plus, what is this T giving? T is giving F. Okay. And F again is giving ID. And what about this E? E is giving T, which is giving F, and F is giving ID. Okay. This is what a parse tree supposed. So I hope you people are aware about CFG, context tree. Now, whatever the parse tree we got here, that parse tree is going to act as an input to the next phase. And what is the next phase? That is semantic analyzer. Now let's say what semantic analyzer is going to do here. Let's see that. So semantic analyzer, what it is going to do? I told you, it is going to check whether the parse tree is semantically verified parse tree or not. What do you mean by semantically verified parse tree? It means left hand side has to be a variable. It cannot be a constant. Like it can be constant, or like it cannot be a function name or array name. So left hand side has to be a variable which is compatible with the type of right hand side. That kind of a tree is called as semantically verified parse tree. I hope again here also you people are aware about all these things already, as there is no question. Okay. Once semantic analyzer is done, I will go and I will try to show you next page. That is nothing but the input is going to be passed to next page, that is intermediate code generation. Next page of form. Now what it is going to do? It is going to generate the intermediate code. For example, T1 is equal to, I am writing down the same thing. Let's suppose I have T star C, right? Let's suppose T2 is equal to A star T1, and this I am trying to assign it to X. T2 I am trying to assign it to X. After this what? After this there is a next phase of the compiler. That is nothing but what? Code optimization. So code optimization name itself suggests actually what it is. So code optimization is going to do what? It is going to optimize your code. What do you mean by that? It means, let me give a simple example. This particular code is going to be written in proper way. So I can write it down like this. T1 is equal to, let's suppose T1 is what? B1 into C. Yeah, that is right. As it is, we have taken. But here, these two lines we can actually combine, or we can write down these two lines in some other way, so that our code is going to be optimized. What I can do here is, my final result is equal to what? X. So I will write down X here. X is equal to, this is nothing but what? A, right? So A into T1. So actually, if you check, X is equal to T2 only. So you need to write on this particular line, not at all. What I can do is X is equal to, I can write it down directly. A star T1 itself. So that was a simple example, right? But just this is what happens in case of code optimization. That's what I wanted to show you. And once you have a code which is optimized, then you can go and you can generate a target code generation. You can pass the input to the target code generation TCG. Now, target code generation, let me give a simple example here. For the previous example itself, so we can check it. What is our first expression? T1 is equal to B into C. What I can do here? So I want to do multiplication, right? B into C. So what I will use is, I will use multiplication operation, MUL. R1 comma R2. Multiply R1 with R2 and store the result into R2. Okay. After that, what? After there is the addition. Sorry, see, this should be, I need to say this should be addition. Whatever you want, you can pick it. Okay. But as I want to show you addition also. So just keep this as an addition, and keep this as addition plus. Okay. So now that's why I will use add. Add what? No, add R0 with R2 and store the result into R2 again. And then move that R2 to X. Same thing I have written here. So assembly, what you can say is target code generation. Here it is done. So what it does is write the code which assembler can understand. And this code need not be the same for all the compilers. Let me tell you, right? Someone might write down it like this also, something like this. That should not be the same for all the compilers. So actually, I'm just trying to tell you how the values are going to be stored here. Right? So this code might not be the same for all the other compilers. Right? So what has happened here? We just try to discuss all the phases of the compiler with a very simple example, with simple code or the expression as an input we can see. Okay. So here you can check lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis, intermediate code generation, code optimization, target code generation, and final code you are getting. Okay. So let's suppose if you talk about lexical analyzer. So the simple question is like, how do you identify that lexical analyzer identify identifiers or tokens? How it actually identifies identifiers or the tokens? For example, and see, it actually identifies these identifiers or tokens. Let's suppose, just to understand that, let's suppose we have example like I have identifier something like this L into L plus D multiplied by, let's suppose, or a star. This is just an expression again, star. Right. So what happens in case of lexical analyzer is, let's suppose if anything matches this particular pattern, it's a pattern. If anything matches this particular pattern, then that will be automatically identified as an identifier by lexical analyzer. Right. Something like, so obviously it is going to make use of some pattern, and based on that it is going to identify whether it's identified or not. That's what the lexical analyzer actually does. So same thing again. Previously at the start I asked you a simple question: how many number of tokens are there? How do you come to know that these are the tokens? So definitely there is something in your mind. As you might be knowing about the definition of token. What is a token? Same thing actually happens in case of lexical analyzer here. So if someone asks you how do you identify that lexical analyzer identifiers or tokens, how it actually identifies? So yeah, it is going to make use of this kind of expressions as L into L plus D star. I can call it as identifier only. So I mean to say theoretically this is what all the phases are supposed to do. But when it comes to practical implementation, whether it's a lexical analyzer, syntax analyzer, semantic analyzer, or this one, or this one, or this one, or final code. Okay, theoretically, this is what all these phases are supposed to do. But when it comes to practical implementation, most of the jobs are done by syntax analyzer. Most of them. Syntax analyzer itself does almost all the things. Okay, so if you give any program, then front end will act on it first. Now you people are aware about what is a front end. Okay, till this it's a front end. So if you give any program, front end is going to act first, and then the back end is going to act. So, for example, if you are interested in implementing a compiler, then there are various tools which are available for implementation of the compiler. For example, some of them you are familiar with now, I hope. For example, there is something called as lexical analyzer, right? Or we call it as Lex. There is something called as syntax analyzer, or you can make it of this YAC, right? So if you are interested to go for compiler, then definitely you can make it of this. And if you want to do any project on compiler, there is a tool. Again, you might be aware about this one also. There is a tool which is called as LANC, which is nothing but the implementation of front end of a compiler, which will give you an intermediate code, and then you can go and you can implement backend on your own depending on the platform whatever they are. If you just go and Google, you will get a lot of information about this particular thing. That's called the glance, which will give you a ready-made front end for your work against. Okay, so this is just an overview of whatever you have learned till now, maybe in the first unit. I just want to talk about some of the more things again. some of the basic things. With some of the questions I will be discussing, and then I will go and I will try to start with the topic from where the madam has left actually. That is remember this parsers, predictive parsers, and then I will be discussing about numericals, the questions which will be solving out, right? How parser works, and we will talk about all these things one by one, right? So I hope everyone is clear till this point, or I hope that no one is having any doubt till this point. Okay. So yes, guys, anything you want to ask, any question? I know I did not discuss anything today. This was just a first session. But is it making sense, all of you? Whatever I have discussed here, is it making sense? Can you just let me know in the chat box either yes or no? Yeah, because yeah, if you let me know fast, I will wait. I will not waste your time. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay then. I hope it's good to everyone. Yeah, for today we will stop here itself then. And yeah, let me know if you ended up in between also. So what you do is those who are present, just send your numbers in the numbers and names in the chat box. That will be a reference for me for your attendance. So just start sending your numbers and names in the chat box one by one. Maybe later on we will just change this way. Let me see. And I think CR, can you please send me the documents related to the attendance, previous documents? I think madam has given it to you, right? Uh, let me ask. Let me give access to them. Yeah, you can unmute.
Yes, sir.
So should I give my email ID? Should I write it down?
Yes, sir. I will give you all the data for.
See, this is what my personal email is. So you can just send it on this one. Yogesh PM. This is 5555 at the rate gmail.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. I hope everyone has sent the details. Yeah. Those people have sent. You can drop off. No problem. We are going to stop. Anyone remaining? Please send it fast. I hope everyone is done.
Yes, sir. Just a minute. I'm typing.
Okay. Yes, yes, Rajat. I will provide the recording of all the sessions. No problem. I'll be sending the recording. No problem. Yes, anyone remaining? Please tell me. I'm just going to end the meeting. Anyone remaining? Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. We will be in next session.